Is it worth buying a Gaea's Cradle that adds green mana to your mana pool equal to the number of creatures you control? It is quite expensive, so maybe it is better to just have a proxy. Well, in this video we are going to be talking about just that. And we're going to do it in two parts. The first part we're going to be talking about if the card is fun, if it is a fun card to operate and play. And the second part, is the card actually good? Is it fitting into a lot of different competitive EDH decks? And yes, I actually do think that the card is quite fun, because suddenly some of your X spells like this one that returns a permanent to its owner's hand and you draw a card becomes a little bit more stronger. But also this card, Flash of Insight, that is also an X spell that gains a little bit more power when you actually draw your Gaea's Cradle. So if you decide to add this card to your collection, you're probably going to want to include it in a lot of different decks, and I think that you are going to enjoy the card. I actually like it. Alright, so is the Gaea's Cradle actually good? Kinda yes and kinda no. Let's begin with looking at Yi-san and Captain Sisei, two generals that should love the Cradle. However, in my experience, they don't really need it. Sure, Gaea's Cradle will definitely be a tiny upgrade for both of these two decks, but I don't need it. And there are many situations where I'd rather have a basic snow-covered forest instead of the Cradle, because Yi-san the Wandering Bard is already weak to board wipes, and this will tap for 0 mana if you have no creatures in play at all. Let me actually point that out once more. If your metagame is filled with board wipes, Gaea's Cradle is kinda dangerous. The same can be said about Edric, Spy Master of Trest, because sure, he can definitely utilize this Cradle quite a lot and make it produce a ton of mana, and that is kinda good. However, if there is a board wipe, this will tap for 0 mana. However, the Gaea's Cradle is quite key and a really important card in some other strange builds, and you might be surprised. In Storm builds, there is a build that goes by Paradox, Scepter, Thrasios, PST, and it's always paired up with either Wild Smasher or Tymna for more color identities, and of course you need another partner. But then the core ID, the game plan is this, that you should have Paradox in play, creatures that, or well, non-land permanents that taps for more than 4 mana, so that you can activate your commander, draw a card, and you're going to continuously draw into a card that costs 1 mana or less, so that you can get the trigger from the Paradox engine and untap these guys, and then activate your commander once more and just storm through your deck. And if this PST deck contains Gaea's Cradle or well, also Ancient Tomb, then suddenly Crop Rotation, Exploration and Explore become rituals, because you will tap a basic forest, sacrifice that basic forest, find either Ancient Tomb or Gaea's Cradle, and suddenly you tap for a lot of mana. So that's a ritual. Also the same thing with Exploration and Explore if you have Gaea's Cradle in your hand, if you kinda draw into it. But there is another Storm deck that you could actually need the Gaea's Cradle for, and this is kinda, this one is just color identity. You can have the other white-red one. In this deck, you need this commander to tap for a lot of mana equal to the cards you've drawn this turn. And it's also a Storm build, so you would do the same thing, that you need Gaea's Cradle to tap for a lot of mana. Normally you go for Staff of Domination. If this commander is able to tap for 5 mana or more, you will gain infinite mana and draw your entire deck with this. But also you can do some other cool things with this creature card. This will also be infinite mana and kinda draw your entire deck. And the same thing goes for this. But my final verdict will be that you don't really need the Cradle. You can do fine without it if you're playing any normal competitive EDH deck that simply just doesn't need it. If Gaea's Cradle will only be a tremendous amount of mana for you, then you don't need it. The reason that I bought one was because that I wanted to play these strange Storm builds. And there you have it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope this have enlightened you in some way.